Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Sturgeon is, as we know, an incredibly secretive person. She doesn't want anyone to know what she does, doesn't want anyone to know what she says. She wants every aspect of everything she's ever done as leader to be covered up, hidden, and kept away. Presumably because she knows that if people found out exactly what she did, she'd be doing time, and a lot of it possibly for the rest of her life. But this secrecy has followed her even though now she's no longer in charge. And there's a story that's broke in the Scottish Daily Express, which we are going to go through. I'm not going to read out the whole story, but edited highlights from it, because it just goes to explain the sheer nasty sleekness of this woman. Again, secrets. Nobody's saying. Nobody wants to speak. But it stinks. What I'm about to go through here with you now, it stinks of a cover-up involving officials with regards to the COVID inquiry. And we need to know how much of this is actually the officials covering up for what Sturgeon has done, or the actual COVID inquiry agreeing to cover up what Sturgeon has done. Because this is all involved and all interlinked. Everything is holistic within this secrecy. The headline from this is written by David Walker, is that Nicola Sturgeon held a secret COVID meeting with John Swinney and Catherine Calderwood on the eve of the COVID inquiry. Now, I'm going to suggest here, that sounds very much like, let's have this meeting so we can get all our stories lined up. We get our ducks in a row. We make sure that when we go in there, we don't say against anyone. You know, they hang one, they'll hang us all. We've got to stick together. The former First Minister and three of her closest confidants during the early stages of the pandemic met with senior Scottish government officials last summer ahead of giving evidence to the COVID inquiry. From that moment, from knowing that, you can tell that nothing that she said since has been the truth or even anything approaching the truth, and that they're all in it. They're all in there. This is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy to cover up the truth from the people. Now, my views are well known. I absolutely, truly believe that her and Freeman, the Shipman sisters, acted too deliberately, and this is my view. You've got to be careful what I say. This is my view and my belief that they acted deliberately to ensure thousands of elderly people died in those homes for political means. Whether they did or not is another matter, but it's my belief that that was the case. The details of this secretive meeting, of course, have been kept under wraps by the SNP executive, but bombshell emails seen by the Scottish Express show that Miss Sturgeon was keen to discuss pressing issues about the inquiry with senior civil servants. Why? Why should she need to have this? She should have been well away from this. Are her senior civil servants involved in everything that went on as well? And if so, will they be going to prison with her? It came about after all three had given evidence to the probe in London, but before their appearances at the inquiry in Edinburgh earlier this year. And it was during these hearings that Miss Sturgeon and Mr. Swinney admitted deleting WhatsApp messages relating to the government's handling of the pandemic. That alone should be a crime. That is withholding of evidence. That is destruction of evidence. That is contempt of court. That should be 10 years for every single WhatsApp deleted. Miss Calderwood, who resigned from her role as the chief medical officer in disgrace, was due to give evidence but pulled out due to pretended illness. According to the correspondence, on July the 24th, the former First Minister sent a letter co-signed by 4 witnesses, including former Health Secretary Jeane Freeman, to the Scottish Government's Permanent Secretary John Paul Marks, which is understood to have included feedback to how the inquiry process had gone so far. A meeting was then organised between the group and two senior government officials, Leslie Fraser, the Director General Corporate, and Claire Tint Irvine, Director of COVID Inquiries, for August the 10th at the Scottish Parliament. That's August the 10th last year, obviously. And here we go. At Miss Sturgeon's insistence, a short paper was prepared with the issues to be raised by the former First Minister that allowed them to properly respond to the latest inquiry request. In other words, what's the line of bullshit that we've all got to agree to that will keep me out of prison? Both Miss Sturgeon and Mr. Swinney were backbench MSPs at the time. She has been, him a soon-to-be. And there we are. So we've got this cover-up again, this secretiveness, this sleekness, this horrendous misuse of powers, this horrendous cover-up, dragging in officials, dragging in people who are supposedly telling the truth at this, what is now pointless COVID inquiry, where the truth is being hidden. The truth will never come out. It's pointless going on with it. It's all prearranged. Everyone knows in advance what everyone else is going to say because, they've had a little word in advance. This is what we do. This is what we do. Let's delete all the WhatsApps. That way nobody can say anything against us. Let's cover up all the evidence. Let's hide all the murders, allegedly. And then they've all agreed to do it. Hang one, hang all. They're all in it. If there was any kind of justice, they'd all be dangling. Scottish Conservative Chairman Craig Hoy said John Swinney and Nicola Sturgeon would be advised to explain what the purpose of this meeting was and what was discussed at it. We will never know. They will never tell us. They would die before they tell us because they know that the contents of everything they've done, the contents of the WhatsApps, the things that they've done, I suspect would end up with them serving the remainder of their miserable lives in prison. The correspondence shows Miss Calderwood was in touch with the Scottish Government about the COVID inquiry as early as January 2023, 6 months before the first public evidence hearings, making sure, therefore, that it was all controlled, that the questions would be asked in advance, that nobody would ask the wrong questions. And in another email, staff discussed what support they can offer Miss Calderwood in creating her statement. She shouldn't need to create her statement. She should give her statement. She should tell the truth. To create her statement is the admission that it's being created. It's bullshit. It's lies. Like everything that these people say. I just cannot, well, I can believe it. Of course I can. These people wouldn't know the truth if it bit them. And now we've got evidence that they've connived and conspired to mislead the inquiry, to mislead the people of Scotland, and to hide the truth forever. Thousands died. Old people died. In my view, murdered. And that's what Operation Cobra is looking at. Was it corporate murder? And if so, Sturgeon's to blame. Thanks very much. Bye.